Lord, let the words that I say be an accurate reflection of what you would have everyone hear. Amen. All right. So we're doing this sermon series called Richer. Now, we've done a variation of this sermon series all around. We liked so many times. This is like a peek behind the curtain. You know, we plan our sermon series a year out. Like we're planned all the way through August next year right now of all the things we're going to teach on and all that stuff. And sometimes you need one or two or maybe three in order to have room for the next sermon series. And when you get that, we like to do these ones on verses in the Bible. Now, in the past, we've noticed that there's been some verses that we think are kind of misquoted, that people quote it and they don't quite understand the meaning behind it. We've called that sermon series Misquoted, right? Some of you maybe remember that. Some of the verses, you look at it and you go, say, what? What is this verse saying? We just did one of those during the summer when Jesus said what, right? Like in this one is some of our favorite verses, ones that we've done in the past with Richer is like John 3:16, things like that. It's these verses that we understand and it's kind of showing what they mean all around it. And this one is one of my very favorites. My favorite book of the Bible is the Gospel of Mark. It's the best one. It's universally accepted as that, right? But it's the Gospel of Mark. But my other, like Genesis and Exodus. I love Genesis and Exodus. And the whole kind of point of today's sermon is what you believe about how you were created matters, right? It matters. And often the way we treat the creation story in Genesis with those 6 days and that 7 day of creation thing, the way we treat that is often like kind of cold and distant and it's like, oh, this is how it is, but that's not what was going on. What I think, and this is where people might start having issues, but it's okay. Hopefully you'll agree with me near the end here, is that it's not about those 6 literal days, right? It does say 6 days. Does it mean that? Sure. But what is going on in our scriptures today is that it is God singing the world into existence. And it's a beautiful song. And I want to show you that today. Now, some of you have had conversations with me over the years. And you're like, I've heard this before. You probably have. The last new member class, we talked extensively about this. This coming new member class, for those of you that be in there, like you're probably going to hear it again if you guys are over there. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because when I saw this stuff in here, it blew my mind. And so because everything in Genesis 1 is like a song, is like poetry. And that begins, and this is me just showing off, because I have to show off sometimes, right? Like, the first phrase in the creation narrative is Bereshit bara Elohim va'et shamayim v'haaretz, right? Like, you got that? This is it right here. Everyone can read that, right? Remember, in Hebrew, you read it backwards, like that, and you read it from right to left. And so Bereshit bara Elohim and va'et shamayim v'haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? And this is so beautiful. It begins right here, starting off with this beautiful phrase that we've been saying for so long now, right? And we can get into it. And one of the things I want to show you about this, because I hear some of you already, I can feel it. You're like, what's this song business that you're talking about? Well, there's all this intentionality in Genesis chapter 1. And this right here is right at the beginning of the intentionality. So you guys know, I talk a lot about numbers in the Bible and stuff like that. Numbers aren't like this secret knowledge, but numbers are like emojis. So like a bad emoji is like 6. That's kind of an incomplete number. It's not quite there. Something very complete and good is 7. That's a 7. 12 also means like people of God. 10 is like exclamation points. Like you have all these things. Wouldn't it be interesting in the creation narrative where it's talking about these 7 days, if all throughout that story it was nothing but 7s, right? And it starts right here in the first phrase. How many words are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cool, huh? that cycle of sevens is all through the whole chapter, through the whole creation story, right? So let's get into it. We know this. Heather just read it a little bit ago. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. I want to talk about the first verse here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. When I first remember this as like small Cris is like 5 years ago, Cris. You got to understand that. Much smaller back then. And like but like small Cris and understanding like that, when I would hear this, I would be like, oh, yeah, God created the heavens, and I would think like that's where dear old dad is. That's where Nana and Pop are, right? Like that's like over there, they're like in the heavenly realms. That's where God's throne is and all that stuff. And earth, you kind of think of like this blue marble in the midst of all the blackness of the universe, right? That's not what is going on here, right? That's not what is being said. This is a better translation. In the beginning, God created the skies and the land, right? The skies where the birds are, where all the thing that we're breathing in and have our essence and all of those things. So you're seeing one of the first things here is the skies and the land, right? And then you go to the next verse and it says, now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. All right, we got to talk about this for a little bit. Because this, they're trying, the English translators are trying to do what they're doing in Hebrew, but they're trying poorly, right? Like because there is rhyming going on in the Hebrew language that we can't do in English, right? And I want to show you some of that going on here. So the earth was formless and empty. I don't think there's actually Hebrew rhyming going on there. I think a good version of this is, now the land was wild and waste. All right? The reason why in Hebrew, formless and empty, or formless and void, if you use that, is, listen to how fun this is to sound. Tohu va-vohu. Right? Tohu va-vohu. I can't even say it, it's so fun. Tohu va-vohu. Right? All right, you guys ready? You want to say it with me? All right, I'm going to say it again. Tohu va-vohu. All right, you ready? Tohu va-vohu. Yeah, see that? That's fun to say. And there's this alliteration and rhyme going on inside of this narrative, right? So the land was wild and waste. And then we introduced it in the next thing here, and darkness was over the face of the deep abyss, right? It talked about the waters before. But notice this is another thing. Remember it said, but the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters? When we often think of spirit, we often think of like disembodied type of thing like that. Well, remember, in Hebrew and in Greek, the two languages that primarily encompass the Bible, the word for spirit, the word for breath, and the word for wind are all the same word, right? We make distinctions on those that the original languages did not. So but the breath of Elohim, name of God, right? The breath of Elohim was hovering over the face of the waters. Think about that. We know that God creates the world he speaks it, and I'm just going to say he sings it. But imagine now, over the waters, over this abyss, over all of that the breath of God, which comes out of his lungs, animates the vocal cords, just like I'm doing right now, and the wind comes out of him and creates everything in it. And you may be questioning here, it's like, what's all this about, like the face of the deep abyss? What's going on with the waters? Like it seems like the waters are bad. Well, I think the best way to explain this is with water skiing. This isn't a picture of me. This is actually AI generated, but no, that's beside the point. But this water skiing says this well, because I think we have normally a good relationship with water, but there are times when our deep down psyche doesn't trust water. And I can prove this to you, right? Like I can remember growing up, and I did a lot of water skiing growing up at Lake Murray in South Carolina. right? Just outside of Columbia. It's where my grandfather lived. He had a boat. We did lots of skiing. And I can remember, like, I'd be being pulled on the boat by my grandfather, my dad, or an uncle, and like I'd be like over there, and then you'd fall off the skis for whatever reason. And as you're sitting there in the water, waiting for them to put the beer down long enough to notice you're not being pulled, let's just like South Carolina in the 90s, like all of that stuff, and for them to finally notice you that you have fallen off the boat, you're sitting there waiting for them to come around. You're holding your skis. Now, when you're sitting there treading water with your like life jacket on and all that stuff, are you letting your toes go as deep as they can into the water? No, not at all. Why? Is something going to go up and eat your toes? Like, probably not, but there's something down deep inside of our minds that says, don't trust what's down there. And this is the same thing that's coming up from the book of Job when God is explaining what the most scary thing that we can think of is Leviathan, the sea beast. The sea monster is coming up from the midst of that. Like, it's these deep waters. It's just like, I don't know why we fear those, but there's something deep inside of us that's doing that. That is what is tapping in. That's what Genesis 1 is tapping into. That is that it is saying that in the midst of the deep sea where chaos and dangerous things are ruling and reigning, right? Like that the breath of God is over all of that deep sea and chaos over there. You can see it now? You see it? And from the midst of that, the breath of God that's over those waters, that deep abyss of chaos, out of that breath of God, he begins to bring beauty and order, and God says, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw that light was good, and he separated light from darkness. Now, all right, the good thing. There's been people who have been here a long time. We got some new people. I got smiles already going on here because we know what we're going to do here. It's not just good. It's not like, we have this red formation thing where we're bringing red foods and all that stuff. And some of you are going to be tempted to bring like red Jello with like tomatoes in it or some heinous thing like that. And you're going to go, how is it? And I'm going to go, good, right? Like that's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is actually like good, right? Like it's not, see, these people know what's going on. And God saw the light, and God saw that the light was good. Yeah, it's not just good, but it's good. Yeah, like that. And he saw that all there, and he creates it out of the midst, out of his own breath. And I'm going to say, singing it out over there, singing it, causing the vocal cords to come and create the resonance in the harmony of the creation itself, in saying that it is good, right? Now, did you catch in the very beginning there were three main things that we talked about? That there was skies and land and darkness. Did you notice that? There's those three things that we were dealing with. Wouldn't it be interesting if the song of the creation begins its first creative acts in harnessing and bringing life to the sky, the land, and the darkness? We already have in day one, he saw the darkness. Here's the first 3 days. And God, in day 2, God separates the waters from above that he calls the skies, and the waters below that he calls the sea. You see it yet? You see it? And he looked at this and he saw that it was good, right? And then the day 3, he pulled out of the chaos of the sea, out of the chaos of the abyss. He pulled dry ground out of it. The things that we are standing on and all those things right now, right? Like he pulled out of the chaos of the sea, dry ground, and all the shrubberies and all of the trees and all the weeds that grow up in all of our flower beds and all that stuff all came into existence. And we are celebrating it now with the colors on all of this stuff, is all the abundance and the palmetto bushes and all those things. He created out of them. And he saw all of that, and he saw that it was good. Yeah, you guys are getting it like over there. Now, this is a song. Now, I don't know if you guys can remember middle school. Some of you, it wasn't that long ago. Some of you, it's so far back you used to call it junior high, right? Like that's like that's we they hit a little too close to some of you guys there, like that. That's so it was. We remembered like back in middle school, you start learning about rhyming meter, right? There's like rhyming meter that you set up poems in a certain way. Like you could have A, B, B, A. You could have these different rhyming meters and all that stuff. The song of creation is set up A, B, C, A, B, C, right? And you're like, no, it's not. Yeah, it is, because here's the other 3 days. And the ABC repeats itself. It's filling out the day before. So God created the light and saw that it was good. He separated the waters from above in day 2. And then in day 3, he pulled the dry ground. And then he fills out each one of those days. The rhyming meter of ABC, ABC. In day 4, he created the sun, moon, and stars, and all the things that create light, all the twinkling in the night sky, the moon to govern the night, and the sun to govern the day. Because I've heard so many people that say, why did God create light, but day 4, the sun comes? It's not what it's about. It's a song of beauty, of creating all of these things in there, and the sun is being created to fill out the darkness that was reigned in, that chaos of all of that. Day 5, so see all the sun, moon, stars, and he looked at it and he saw that it was good job. And then day 5, all the birds of the air and the fish of the sea. Do you see all that? Like filling out the creation there. The birds of the air, fish of the sea. He looked at those and he saw that they were good, right? And then day 6, all the things that creep and move and have their being, and us. And he created us, male and female. He created us. Like that's in the image of God. He created us. And he created all of that. He created you good, right? Let's do that again. He created you good. Like that's what you believe and how you were created matter. And I think God is singing. He's vocalizing you with the breath coming out of his lungs as it's coming out into the world. And his resonance of his creative voice is creating you. And he's creating it good. How you believe, thank you, I appreciate that. How you believe you were created matters, because there's all these other creation epics throughout the time. A popular one when this one that we're talking about today with the Hebrews, a popular one during that time was the Babylonian creation epic. You can look this up in the Enuma Elish if you ever want to, but it's basically the story is about Tiamat and Marduk. Marduk and Tiamat. Tiamat's the one over on this side, and they were like warring gods, and one day Marduk slayed Tiamat and filleted her. She was a fish god. Filleted her, and the bottom fillet became the ground, and the top fillet became the sky. That's the Babylonian creation epic. What does that say about you when that is your creation story? That out of violence, out of hatred, out of warfare, all these things, right? That you were created. And yet, this song of the Hebrews, this song of the Creator is still marching forth that says, out of love and wanting here, you were created, right? And you look around today, like the most popular theory that we have today is like the Big Bang Theory. And basically, it's kind of saying all the same kind of things. That it says out of heat and pressure and chance and explosions and all of those things, you were created. But that Hebrew narrative is still singing through. It's still shining through. That you were created in the midst of this beautiful poetry and song and with love. And if I am going to have to sit in the hope in the midst of the chaos of my own life that your sin and my sin is all created, the fact that I can sit and hear the song of the Creator that has said that we all are good, it matters. It matters. And actually, this song of the creation is the original story that the church said about, 120 years ago. the church started saying another one. We started focusing on the 6 literal days thing. And the reason why we did that is because we got scared of Charles Darwin. We're like, oh no, science is on the loose. And all this stuff, we got to have a scientific answer for all this. This song business isn't going to work anymore. That's like over there, we got to have all this concrete stuff. And so we lost the original message of Genesis 1. That God created you in the midst of song and beauty. And there's song, like, I don't know why we did this to ourselves. Everything is in song. Have you ever read like Isaiah or Jeremiah? It's nothing but singing and songs. Like, have you ever read like Exodus? Like, there's so many songs that are in it and all that stuff. This all was just sung, but I have proof that this is what the church used to do. And my proof is one of my favorite books. It's The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. Has anyone read Magician's Nephew? All right, 4 of you. Cool. Like that. Great book. It's in the Chronicles of Narnia story. You know, Narnia is Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, you know, where the kids go back to Narnia. It's this whole world. Jesus is a lion. His name is Aslan, and all that stuff. Great story. C.S. Lewis wrote it for his grandkids, and it kind of became a sensation. And this is the last book he wrote, but it's actually a prequel. And in this, the kids go, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but there's portals, and the kids go to this area with portals, and when they go into these portals, they go to all these other worlds in different time frames. And they go into this one portal, and they look around them, and it's all blackness and tohu, va-vohu. Tofu. That's chaos. And but they go around, it's all blackness all around them. And then all of a sudden they see Aslan in the midst of all the blackness. And he begins to create Narnia. And do you know how he does it? He sings it into existence. The Lion of Aslan sings Narnia into existence. C.S. Lewis isn't doing it to make a point. He's pulling in to his memories of the church and the story that we always told, right? That is always here. And what we believe about how we were created matter. Because we have so many of these different creation stories all wanting our attention. And the one thing that I want you to hear today is that where the beginning of our scriptures is, there is more poetry going on than I have time to go through today. I have a video on our website, on the Sunday page where you watch the live stream here. It's a Bible Project video that shows a ton of the poetry that is in Genesis chapter 1. I encourage you to watch it. It's really good. You'll see a lot of this stuff. But there's so much poetry that we don't know what to do with today. There's just not enough time in this place. But God has sang the song of creation into all of us. Sang that song of order out of chaos. That song of grace. And he sang you into existence. You were created from the wind of God's throat, which carried the resonance of who you are. And yes, there are times that we've lost that harmony. We've lost that song. We lose it all the time, that we, like Adam and Eve, that we chose to be God of our own lives, and we've picked and chosen what is good and what is evil. We lose that harmony, and we just create dissonance out in the world, and that dissonance harms ourselves and those around us. We look out at the world today and we see only dissonance, hurt, and pain all around us. But God continues to sing that song of the Creator, singing that song which brings us rest and relaxing. He would sing us the song of the creation as the offerings would waft up into the sky of the temple, in all the smoke from the offerings and those sacrifices in the temple. And we would sing with Him. We would sing the song of the love of the creation. But ultimately, as Jesus comes into the world, into what looks like the darkness and the dissonance of it all, he continues to sing that song. And Jesus takes on that darkness, that tohu va-vohu. He takes it on to the cross where it looks like the Creator himself is dying, and it looks like the creation and all the goodness is being rolled back to tohu va-vohu again, formless and void and chaos. And it looks like this as he goes to the chaos of the cross. And Jesus, though, continues to sing the song of the creation. That song which harmonizes you into existence. When he says from the midst of the darkness, Father, forgive them, because they do not know what they do. Forgiveness and light to our soul, which becomes that same light on that Easter morning when Jesus comes out of the grave, which is almost harmonizing with that first verse of Genesis, when that song of the creation on Jesus' lips, when he says, let there be light. And there was light in the midst of that song of the creation as it broke forth and rolled the stone back, and light came beaming out of the tomb. That even when the darkness and the chaos of the world and all around us, that light coming in there and says, let there be dark, let there be light, it drowns it all out. That song of the Creator is always being sung. That song is always there in the midst of our hearts and ears, saying that you are forgiven. And that you are good. And that's good news. We'll end right there. Let's say a prayer. God, we thank you that you are with us, that you are always guiding us. Lord, that the song of your creation never goes out. That no matter what chaos is in our lives, no matter what heartache, no matter what trouble, no matter what dissonance our heart sung or the people around us are singing, Lord, your song of the creation comes and so speaks and softens our hearts. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. So our next song, some of you have come up to me and are like, I didn't realize we're singing Cat Stevens now. All that stuff. Our next song is The Morning Has Broken. It's a Cat Stevens song, but it's not just a Cat Stevens song. It was Cat Stevens redid this song. This is an old Episcopal hymn, like of the Church of England hymn. This song was written about 25 years before Cat Stevens was born. This is an old church hymn, and so we can sing it together because it's beautiful and it's